game yesterday, rock fight yesterday with Cincinnati, but that was something. That was my eyes were bleeding watching it. Holy cow. UCF shot 34% from the field, 13% from three, 57% from the line. Those are not exactly the numbers that you would have required in the formula to win a basketball game yesterday. But they found a way. They found a way. Jermichael Stillwell was awesome down the stretch, and especially in overtime. 17 points, 15 rebounds. He was a little bully in the paint, just sort of forcing his way in there and getting shots up. I mean, honestly, I don't like really in sports because I think we overuse it whenever a team loses with the lead to say they choked. That was close on Cincinnati's part to be up 8 late in a college basketball game, especially. It's different in contrasting it like the Magic game last night where Cleveland is knocking 4 straight threes and then suddenly it goes from comfortable to very, very uncomfortable. Like, that's not the way college basketball operates. I mean, you get a 2-possession lead with under a minute to play, and you're usually feeling pretty good about yourself because of the shot clock being 30 seconds. And, hey, if we just take care of the ball, we're probably going to win because it's even hard to score in consecutive possessions at times. But, yeah, that was something. But if you look at what that win means for UCF, and we'll have Mark on in the 10 o'clock hour to discuss this as well, depends what bracketology you visit, but the lowest I've seen them is 11. The highest I've seen them is 10. If you're sitting at 10, that means you're avoiding the last 4 in. You're avoiding the play-in portion of being the last 4 in. So I feel like yesterday's win, it gives them a wins above bubble, which is the new metric that people will be sporting and talking about for the next few days, of 1.84, which means their wins versus other bubble teams, and you want that number to be higher, right? And so this means they would get 1.84 more wins than the average bubble team, which is good, right? That's where you want to live because their net's 51. It's a little bit on the lower end of things. But with that win yesterday by UCF, I feel like regardless of what happens against Arizona today, a win against Arizona would seal the deal. They're number 1 team in the conference and a number 1 seed in the tournament right now. It would certainly seal it. But I feel like they're in with that win yesterday, especially when you look at Cal losing yesterday, Cincinnati, directly losing because of UCF, Texas losing, West Virginia losing, Indiana losing, SC lost, SMU lost. Like, a lot of the teams that needed to find ways to win, even if that win didn't put them in, to get them to today to have a chance to get a bigger win, a quad 1 or quad 2 win, like those teams lost. So I feel like today, UCF, you feel pretty good about your chances of being into the tournament. And I brought this up to KV last week, I believe on the bridge we were discussing it. And you don't think in these terms, but there was a point before this losing streak for UCF where they were getting that 8-9 like look. And earlier before that, they were even up higher than that. But the problem with 8-9 means you get 1 in the second round. And you don't want to really dance with what Duke has or what Arizona has, Michigan has, Florida, UConn, like Houston, all those teams that are up there. You'd much rather take your chances 10 and 11. Yes, you're going to have to maybe play a little bit better of a team in the first round, but you're talking about playing a 2-seed or a 3-seed in the second round, a much more winnable opportunity if you're a team like UCF.
Well, let me ask you, because UCF has some great wins this season. But some of their losses are also head-scratching. And yes, they ended the regular season on a 3-game losing streak. Probably 1 or 2 games that they should have won, if not all 3. You squeak by a Cincinnati team. It almost feels like to comfortably make the tournament, or at least avoid the last 4 in the play-in game, you'd want to at least keep it close. You can't get blown out by 20 plus.
It wouldn't be a good look. I was talking to one of my buddies who asked me about that yesterday. Like, it wouldn't be a good look if they lost by 30 today. And by the way, if they play the way they did yesterday, they probably will, if we're just being honest. You can't play as poorly as they did yesterday and expect to be anywhere close to Arizona. But in the grander scheme of it all, it probably doesn't matter. Right? I don't think you're going to boil it down to that. The last 10 metric isn't a metric anymore. That would not bode well for them because they have not played well. But as much as you can point to Baylor and Oklahoma State, West Virginia, like you feel like you at least should have won two of those, right? At least the two home games. West Virginia is a borderline tournament team. That's not necessarily a bad loss when you want to win. The other two aren't horrible losses. No, it's not. We're not talking about their quad 4 losses or quad 3 losses, which can almost be disqualifiers in the committee's eyes. These are respectful conference opponents that you lost to.
Yeah.
Right. So it's as much as it is frustrating on this end of things for UCF fans, they're not like those aren't going to eliminate you from the conversation.
But again, you have wins over Kansas, a BYU team,
right.
Texas Tech.
And that's why they're going to be in.
Yeah. Wins.
Yeah, that's why they're going to be in. Their big wins are going to get them there. And I like the great thing about committees, as much as it can be frustrating, and we talk about like the people in the room, and we're always going to be critical. No one's ever really complimentary committees, football or basketball, after it happens, let alone the other college sports as well. I observe some of the reactions to the committees. Rarely is there, wow, A+ job, fellas. Like, let's go out for a round of drinks. It's on me. They have differences of opinions and what they value, which is a good thing, right? That's the reason you have a committee and not one selector, because one selector, me, might be different than one selector, you might be, right? And we're going to have how we look at certain things on a schedule. To me, I tend to think, what can you do versus what didn't you do, right? Hey, if you show me you can do it, that's encouraging to me. I want to see you be able to beat teams that are in the tournament, because guess who you're going to have to beat to advance in the tournament? Teams that are in the tournament.
Yeah.
That's more important to me than, oh, wow, horrible day. Somebody hurt an ankle. You were playing shorthanded. You got upset by a bad team. Like, not saying that doesn't matter. I count the good stuff more than the bad stuff.
Do you think maybe UCF is maybe with those quad 1 wins over the ranked teams, maybe they kind of took the Oklahoma States for granted? Did you see that as a possibility? Playing down to the competition, maybe getting a little bit too big-headed?
I mean, it probably speaks to how good the conference is. That, two teams, and Oklahoma State's been down a little bit. Baylor has not been. Like, Baylor's been traditionally a terrific school here recently under Drew, but it happens, right? Like, Kansas got that smoked at home by Cincinnati. Like that, how did that Cincinnati team go into Lawrence and kill them, right? There are very few teams in the country that have given you that sort of steadiness each time out. Every team on the bubble, every team. This is not a good bubble. Like, I will be one of many people that are going to tell you that this is not a good bubble. The fact that yesterday's results have a lot of people having Auburn at this hour in, which has been kind of the poster child for, big school somehow, overcoming a mediocre record to get in. I mean, Auburn's got talent. I'm not sitting here telling you that they don't. They've just lost a lot of games in conference. But somebody has to be in at the end of the day. There's going to be warts on whoever does get in to the NCAA tournament. If Auburn's able to beat Tennessee today, they're going to be in, right? That will give them that one more win, a little bit of a separation on the record. But chances are they're going to have another loss. They're going to take on a 15th loss before Selection Sunday unless they win the SEC, and then they'd be in anyway. So you're differentiating between teams that have 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe even 15 losses. Like, it's not a particularly strong bubble. And it's a different bubble. Like, it's almost a different conversation. But like, because of the movement in college basketball and football in particular, conferences and realignment and the growth of conferences, there's a lot more good, or would have been at least better than they are, teams that are in like the lower level of major conferences right now, right? That if the conference was smaller, they probably would look a little bit better with their overall resume. And the strength of the mid-majors, of the Atlantic 10s and the Mountain West and things like that, maybe isn't what it was a few years ago, because a lot of their better teams have gone on to other conferences.
Right.
Like, those shifts has really affected the overall. Like, my friend was asking me, hey, who do you like as a Cinderella? There's not a whole lot of it. there just isn't as many as there used to be because a lot of those schools have gone on and are now, if you will, even middling schools in bigger conferences as opposed to the big dog on the street.
Well, not only that, you have the better players on those mid-level teams going to the better teams.
You're right. You have to catch lightning in a bottle.
Yep.
You have to have it. Wow, it all hit. FAU, it all hit, and then coach leaves. Everyone evacuates to go to bigger schools like Michigan, and yeah, you're right. Like you have to catch it in that year because you're not going to get a chance the next year.
Right.
Chances are, especially like at schools like High Point's an example of what I would say is going to have a strong opportunity to pull an upset in the tournament. I think they were 30-4 on the season. I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, if they got a great player, that great player's jumping up to a power school next year. You're just not going to be able to retain it at High Point.
Right.
They don't have the finances for it. NFL free agency, we are certainly knee deep or more than that at this point. A lot of the big names are off the table. So I thought I'd play a little game with CV. Hit or miss. We'll go through the positions and identify the ones we like and the ones we don't like as much. It might not be the player. It might be the money. It might be the other way around. We will discuss that next here on the Beat of Sports.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? 1Forrest1.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CV's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
Tuck did not like my joke yesterday, so I'm hoping I can get you today.
It wasn't just yesterday, my friend.
Yeah, you don't like a lot of my jokes. It's kind of sad. But I saw a joke the other day about chocolate. But it wasn't that funny.
Okay.
I just snickered.
I'm speechless.
Welcome back to the Beat of Sports. Filling in for Mark Daniels, here's Mike Tuck.
10 o'clock, WIGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740, Orlando sports leader. Mike Tuck in for Mark Daniels, who will join us coming up in our next segment. In fact, we're going to do a double dip because Cam Mellor wasn't available today and wanted to get Mark's thoughts on his own show, some of the other things that are going on. So we'll talk about the UCF game and what that means, and then some of the other sports stories today. Chris Vasquez here as well. Want to play a little bit of a game show of sorts with you here, CV. On NFL free agency, we are, not even a full week into it at this juncture, but basically going through positions in what moves you and what doesn't move you. So what are our hits and what are our misses? All right. We'll start with the quarterback position. Now, it's up to you if you want to make any assumptions on things, a la Tua is not a Falcon officially yet, but, we know that he's going to sign with the Falcons. Kyler might become a Viking today. He's meeting with the Vikings. You could make that leap of faith as well.
From
Otherwise,
what I saw, I believe the Rams are also interested in Kyler.
Okay. So maybe we don't want to rule on that one just yet. I don't know that he would go there, but, it's up to you if you want to go that direction. Daniel Jones, obviously, a 2-year, $88 million extension with the Colts. We have slim pickings. Geno Smith to the Jets, Malik Willis to the Dolphins. Those are the, I guess you would say, the major starting headlines to this point. So
I was going to say there's no real, I'll say, quote unquote, hits for the quarterback position. I will say I think the Dolphins, huge miss with Malik Willis. I don't understand it. We talked about it yesterday. You can't sell me on the Dolphins' vision because you're signing a guy, you're giving him $45 million guaranteed, who's never taken or thrown more than 70 passes in a season, who's never played more than half a season. Yet you want him to come in, show you what he's got with a very depleted roster, not a lot of weapons to work with. Don't know how the offensive line is going to be. You're more high on the offensive line than I am. It's going to be a horrible defense. I mean, they're going to be a bottom-dwelling team. Yeah, you want to give a young guy an opportunity to showcase what he's got, but what are you really seeing? He's going to get killed. So I think the Dolphins, huge swing and miss with Malik Willis.
All right. My very simple and yet direct question to you would be, if it's not Malik Willis, what should they have done?
Sign a Kirk Cousins.
Okay. And where does that lead you?
Where you want to be. You want to be at the bottom.
Which means what? I'm taking you where I want to go here. Just work with me.
Okay.
Where does that take you?
2027 NFL draft.
All right. And who is the no-brainer, obvious selection for the Dolphins at that point?
There's not.
There's not. Okay. Checking.
There's not.
That's where I'm taking you. Like, there isn't. If there is Andrew Luck, we all know. We're just kind of waiting, right? The way Jeremiah Smith is right now with Ohio, we're just waiting. We're biding time before the Ohio State wideout can be drafted. Sometimes you get, and it's not always the quarterback, but you get guys that you identify, they're going, barring injury, at the top of the board the next year. Like, it's a no-brainer. There isn't that guy. There's a list of guys, but there was a list of guys this year. I mean, hell, Arch Manning was a lot. I feel no more comfortable about Arch Manning next year than I did this year, for what it's worth.
I would agree with you on Arch Manning.
All right.
But again, my point is, what does Malik Willis do for you?
He gives them a guy who, and he's my hit, by the way, because we are limited. Don't laugh. He is. He's my hit. We are limited in the selections, and at the price point they get them, and at the flashes we saw, you're betting on upside. Like, and frankly, even as a Dolphin fan, I like you. Kirk Cousins would be a hard sell. Geno Smith would be a hard sell. There'd be a lot of guys that'd be a hard sell because you'd be bad with no guarantee of it actually getting you anything the next year. Is part of the problem. The only other solution, if you will, would have, and it wouldn't have fit into what you said, but be like Kyler Murray. Like, that'd been all right. Like, let's kick the tires on that and see where that takes us. All right. So who's your miss? Oh, that was your miss. You don't have a hit.
I don't have a hit.
My miss was, although you could call it a hit, the Jets getting Geno Smith, because that should solve the Aaron Glenn problem. Like, if you want Aaron Glenn fired, it feels like the right thing to do is to bring in Geno Smith. That'll get everybody fired next year. There's like zero chance, right? Like, there's zero chance as we sit here today, Aaron Glenn is making it to Thanksgiving. There's no chance.
They might just keep him there to keep the team losing, and like the Dolphins, try for a high draft pick and see what quarterbacks are going to be available and who's good, and have a franchise guy with the new regime.
If you were going to sell me on Geno, it would have been like 3 years ago, not the Geno we saw last year. If you're going to, this is the Jets though. This is the Jets, man.
But in Geno's defense, the Raiders were working with. I mean, outside of Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, their offensive line was atrocious.
Oh, you're right.
He spent more time on his back than he did actually throwing the ball.
The Jets are loaded in offense. You are correct. No, it should be good. I mean, they should be really. They should be really good. Geno is going to get Aaron Glenn fired and get them a top 5 pick, probably a top 3 pick.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. So maybe I'm calling it a miss. Maybe it's a hit. If you're a Jets fan, that's what you want. All right, let's go to the running back position. Okay. So running backs, I'll mention some that are out there, just kind of going in order of what just happened. Keaton Mitchell jumps from the Ravens as a speed option to the Chargers as a complimentary piece. Chris Rodriguez signed with Jacksonville yesterday after our show had ended. 2 years, $10 million. Sean Tucker, they went in reverse course. He could be back with the Bucs now because they dropped a first refusal tender on him. So that was a little bit of a surprise. They changed direction yesterday. Aaron Jones is staying with Minnesota, restructured. David Montgomery traded to Houston. Isaiah Pacheco traded to Detroit. James Conner stays with Arizona. Rico Dowdle, 2 years, $12 million with Pittsburgh. J.K. Dobbins, 2 years, $20 million with Denver. Travis Etienne, $452 with New Orleans. Algier, $212 with Arizona. Gainwell, $214 with Tampa Bay. Kenneth Walker, $343 with Kansas City.
You're missing one.
Javonte goes back with Dallas, $324. Breece Hall, franchise tag with the Jets. Yeah, that'll sum it up. So what's your hit?
I'm going to say it's Javonte Williams. Dude came back, was not expected to really have any sort of impact. And, it was supposed to be him, Miles Sanders. They drafted 2 running backs, albeit late.
Mm-hmm.
And Javonte Williams, man, what he was able to do, career highs in pretty much everything, and put any sort of doubt about his leg to rest. And then to get him at $8 million a year, I think that's an absolute steal compared to what these other guys are making. And I absolutely love that signing. I think that is huge for the Cowboys.
All right. I think 2 things can be true at the same time. I think trading what Houston traded for David Montgomery probably is less than ideal for a running back who is past his prime. But as far as what they're going to get this next year, I think it is the clear winner of the offseason that David Montgomery is going to give Houston a running game they just did not possess. They had Joe Mixon, of course, was hurt. Mystery, now been released. I mean, who knows what happened? But, Woody Marks was a scat back at USC, and they kind of were forced into him and what was left of Nick Chubb last year, and that just did not work for Houston at all. So I think David Montgomery will, at least for a year or two, solidify that Houston backfield until they can figure out some younger option down the road. So I think that's a clear winner of the offseason for the running backs. And that's not saying the rest are bad, but that's my winner. How about your miss?
This is going to sound horrible to say, but Super Bowl MVP being a miss, I think it's Kenneth Walker.
Really?
Give him a lot of money, and he split time with Zach Charbonnet. He's not the best pass blocker. He's not the best pass catcher, and that was very apparent during the season, and he dropped a pass in the Super Bowl. He kind of got blown up on a few plays.
Super Bowl MVP, and you want to highlight that he dropped a pass in the Super Bowl?
I have to make a point for my miss.
Okay.
He's kind of got some tread on the tires. I
don't know about the tread on the tires thing. He's been sharing time. I think that actually benefits him at his age. He's still pretty young.
I don't know who else is in the Kansas City backfield. Is it still Kareem Hunt?
Nobody else now. It's Kenneth Walker's backfield.
So are you going to trust him to handle the load? Or
I
are you
would. I
drafting
mean, I think he's
somebody?
a
Or
dynamic player.
I don't know, but Kenneth Walker is going to be my miss.
Okay. I'm going to go in a similar vein, but a different player, Travis Etienne, 4 years, 52 to New Orleans. They've selected running backs in the last couple of drafts. Kamara, we don't know if he's just going to go slip his pina colada now that he talked about if he's not New Orleans, he's just going to, be on a beach somewhere. But man, it's a big contract for a running back who has never been anything more than just a good running back, right? Not even like a Pro Bowl level running back. It just feels like that's the one that stands out to me after a year. They might be regretting that one. How about wide receiver? Run through a few of them for those that aren't keeping up on things. Let's see. DJ Moore traded to Buffalo from Chicago. You have Romeo Dobbs, 468 with New England. You have Kendrick Bourne, 210 to Arizona. Rashid Shaheed back in Seattle, 351. Jahan Dotson to Atlanta, 2 for 15. Jalen Naylor, 3 for 35 to Vegas. Mike Evans, 3 for 42 to San Francisco. Wan'Dale Robinson, 470 to Tennessee. You're laughing. I feel that's where you're going with it. Mike Pittman Jr. was traded to Pittsburgh and then signed a 3-year, $59 million extension. Alec Pierce, 4 for 114, going back to Indianapolis. And we'll stop there.
So
George Pickens,
franchise tag.
Yeah.
So I think my hit and miss are the same type of player, but they're two different names.
Okay.
My hit is Rashid Shaheed. I think the value that they got for him, he's an explosive punt and kick returner. What he can do, he can take the top off the defense, take some pressure off of JSN and those other weapons. At $51 million, that's what, 17 a year? In today's market, for what he can do, you're not expecting him to have 1,000 yards in a season. You're not expecting him to catch 10 for $150, but maybe 4 catches, 80-something yards.
Well, and the special teams sauce he brought last year, my gosh, that was more important than anything he did.
So $17 million a year to have essentially dual threat between the receiver and the return game.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah. I jotted down Rashid Shaheed as well. So we're the same there. Who's your miss?
It's not Wan'Dale Robinson. That it still baffles me though, but it's funny. Alec Pierce, guy barely broke 1,000 yards last season. You're giving him the richest contract for a free agent receiver in NFL history for, again, a Rashid Shaheed type player who doesn't give you anything in the return game. I mean, he's never had 50 catches in a season.
He's a big play guy. He's 20 yards a pop. Those guys don't grow on trees.
When you're only getting 40 catches a year, okay, congratulations. That's not really doing much. That's a number 2 somewhere, and in turn you lose Michael Pittman because of it. So to me, the Alec Pierce contract is just absolutely ridiculous. That's my miss.
I agree with you on the contract for what it's worth. I'm going to go Wan'Dale. Takes advantage of. I'm sorry. Tennessee. I know you got money to burn, but 4 for 70 for a guy who basically is just a slot merchant catching short passes. He did open up his game a little bit last year because of Neighbors being out, but yeah, this one feels like a year in they're going to be like, why did we do this? Why did we decide to invest? Just draft a guy for Cam to throw to.
Right.
Just draft a guy.
Yeah.
Although they might take a running back for him in the first round. We'll get to that later. Tight ends real quick before we get to break. Njoku was cut on that one still. Cleveland, what are you doing? Chicken Conquo, 3 for 30 with Washington. Grant Calcaterra back to Philadelphia. Dawson Knox stays in Buffalo. Greg Dulcich stays in Miami. Kelsey stays for another year in Kansas City, 1 for 12. Daniel Bellinger to Tennessee, 3 for 24. Austin Hooper back to Atlanta again. We can't quit Austin Hooper. Isaiah Likely got a big deal, 3 for 40 with the Giants. Cade Otton, 3 for 30 to stay with Tampa Bay.
I really like the Isaiah Likely signing. I know I give Mark grief about it, but you give another weapon to Jackson Dart. Hopefully Malik Neighbors comes back healthy. Cam Scatteraboo comes back healthy. You got to shore up that offensive line, but what Isaiah Likely has been able to do almost seemed like he was kind of taking over for Mark Andrews in Baltimore. Now he gets a chance to be the number 1 in New York. I think he'll be all right. So Isaiah Likely is my hit.
it feels weird when you get players that are following their coaches, and those players are the reason the coaches got fired to some degree, like with Harbaugh in Baltimore,
Yeah.
or you got what's his face there with the Giants that's now with Tennessee as
Brian Daboll.
Daboll as the offensive coordinator, bringing in Wandale. So it feels like a mistake. I went Greg Dulcich, actually. I thought he flashed last year for Miami, and for the cheap deal, they're retaining him on for a team that, hey, let's just take another kick at the tires and give him the full-time opportunity. I think that makes sense. My miss was Chig, like a guy that's always been kind of a part-time player. I just have no idea what Washington's doing right now. I have no idea, but 3 for 30 for $10 million a year. Really? Like, there are legit playmakers in the NFL at other positions that you could get for that kind of a price tag.
Believe it or not, I think it's only a 1-year deal, but Travis Kelce, I think he's done. And I get you want to run it back with Mahomes. Last year was just a horrible year all around, but don't know the health of Mahomes, if he'll be back at the start of the season. It might just be time for him to ride off into the sunset. I get you don't want to end on a sour note, but he probably could have retired a couple of years ago. Just focus on your podcasting with your brother, because that's what everyone wants to do now. You make your money. You're with Taylor Swift. Congratulations. Like, just
Taylor doesn't want him in the house right now.
apparently not.
She talked him out of it.
But Travis Kelce is my miss.
All right. Mark Daniels will join us live from Kansas City coming up next.
Here's Stillwell at the line. Got 2 shots here. Extra dribble. Free throw. Nope. So you miss it on purpose here. I'd get in the lane, and I'd miss this here. I'd miss it. I'd hit the rim. 1.4 seconds to go. I'd hit the rim here and miss it. Hope he's missing this. 1.4 seconds to go. His free throw is short. Tapped out. Clock's going to expire. UCF wins. The Knights survive. Down 8 with 2 to go in regulation, and UCF wins at 66-65 in overtime. Somehow, some way, found a win and found a way. And maybe it punches a ticket.
Utah, Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma. From somewhere else in the country, let's welcome the host of the Beat of Sports as a guest on his own show. Here's Mark Daniels.
The phrase that pays this time of year, survive in advance. Mark Daniels on the call yesterday as UCF somehow, some way, found a way to win against Cincinnati 66-65 in overtime, which means another night in a hotel for Mark Daniels and another game in Kansas City today. Mark, great call to finish. I don't know if your eyes were bleeding early from watching that game. A little bit of a rock fight broke out yesterday between the Knights and the Bearcats. How do you view how they were able to escape with a win yesterday?
Well, Mike, the game itself, UCF did some good things. They also couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. At 3 of 24 from the three-point line, they missed 10 free throws. Cincinnati plays pretty good defense, but it also adds to everything that's going on. I mean, both teams have to win. Cincinnati, if they're going to have any chance to get to the NCAA tournament, had to beat UCF and probably would have had to beat Arizona today. So they know what's at stake. UCF has lost 3 in a row. They know all the bubble talk, and you just felt that cloud, that sense of urgency, that pressure and tension as the ball goes up. And for 2.5 hours, it was just a rock fight. It was just a seesaw. UCF is down 11-2, then it's 11-9, and they're down 19-9. They're down by 1 at the half, and then next thing you know, they're down by 12 at 9 to go, and it just looks like they're going to get blown out the court. They're tired. Their body's not doing anything. Then they're down 8 with 2 to go, and then they score 8 in a row without fouling. Didn't have to foul. Turnovers and a complete meltdown by Cincinnati, and then had a chance to win in regulation. And then you got to play defense. And then Wes Miller doesn't call timeout until he calls timeout late. And then an open 3 for Cincinnati, and then an overtime. So the adrenaline rush, the pressure, the ups and downs were just there because, and I really had UCF lost it today, I don't think they would have got in. Now, I don't think they're a lock. I think they're better today than they were yesterday. But it was a swing of emotions. And then, look, had they beaten TCU like that, you'd still celebrate. But because it's Cincinnati, probably their rival in the Big 12, Cincinnati has always kind of, I think, looked a little bit down on UCF because they were in the Big East. And then the whole thing with Mustafa Cham going there with the assistant coach, it's kind of added to that. And then as that horn sounded yesterday, you can feel the big anchor off your back if you're UCF, and you feel a little bit better. So, dramatic a win because it's a play-in type game and everything. And, I wouldn't say today means nothing, but I do think you feel a lot better. But now go play one of the best teams in the country and, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, box scores don't tell you everything, but 34-13 and 57 splits don't usually get you wins. And it takes 19 in the column on the other team because, Mark, I don't like choke. I mean, choke to me is like you're expected. It's easy to do and you don't do it. And that doesn't happen all that often in sports. But, man, the way Cincinnati handled the last 2 minutes of that game and turnovers with, capital letters and underlined 5 times, it certainly invited UCF the opportunity to beat them yesterday.
Yeah, no question. Their leading scorer, Baba Miller, who's a 6'10" kid, didn't have a field goal yesterday, and a couple of things. He had 7 turnovers, and Jermichael Stillwell for UCF was the warrior yesterday.
Yes,
and
he was.
Stillwell, who's 6'8", 240, probably 250 now, lives in a walking boot. I've said this. He has a severe ankle injury, and the only time he takes the boot off is to play a basketball game. He doesn't practice, so it's just to play a game. And he guarded all 5 positions yesterday because of defensive switches and everything. But that forearm on Baba Miller, he wanted no part of it. He didn't drive. He didn't get a dunk. He didn't, which they do for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stillwell, who starts off 2 of 10, just bullies his way late in the second half to make shots. He makes this incredible 12-foot bank shot, and 17 and 15. And Mike, after UCF celebrated the locker room, put the boot on. Saw last night. So it was a great win for him. And, you found a way. And like I said, hopefully this helps. And today, if you're UCF, Iowa State plays Texas Tech in the first game. Mike, I swear there's 1.2 million Iowa State fans in the hotel.
That's what you said yesterday.
I'm in the lobby off to the side here. They played the early game today. So hopefully, no disrespect to Texas Tech, but if Iowa State wins, hopefully their fans stick around and root for us.
Mm-hmm.
That would make for a fun environment.
Yeah.
But as much as I thought Iowa State yesterday, it's insane today. And, it ended up being just, like I said, the pressure of that game and then the atmosphere. And I mentioned yesterday how well attended this tournament is. And for UCF and Cincinnati, and I'll be honest, the bulk of the fans were not from the 2 schools. That's where UCF fans, I think, need to step up. But there were 10,000 people for that game yesterday, and they were into the game because of how close it was and back and forth. And
mm-hmm.
It added to the drama of it. And so we'll see what happens today.
All right. So we got you for another segment, but to wrap this one up, and you sort of alluded to it already, I think I feel more comfortable maybe than you do. Maybe that's in your role. You don't feel as comfortable, but anywhere you look at the various bracketologies out of there, 10 or 11 seeds for UCF, obviously 11 would be closer to the danger zone, but just looking at who lost yesterday that probably needed to win to help their cause. CV brought it up to earlier, like you don't want to get blown out by Arizona. I would tend to agree. You don't want to get blown out by Arizona. I don't know how much they would factor that into it in the grand scheme of things, but on a 1 to 10 sliding scale, where are you chances that they are already in?
Well, if 10 means they're in, I
Yes.
think it might be it might be an 8 this morning.
Okay.
Because if you look at, now you're down to bid stealers in power conferences, meaning can somebody go make a run that is not supposed to? That's the only thing left for UCF to fear. The smaller conferences, they're not bid stealers. And then if you just take a look at
other than Miami of Ohio, maybe.
Right. But I believe the key metrics are, and it's the analytics. Wins above bubble is a very, very popular metric that the committee does use a lot more than net. But UCF's quad 1, quad 2 record and WAB, I think helps them. They're 11 and 10 in quad 1, quad 2 games, and their wins above bubble number today is ahead of all those other teams that are around the bubble. And there's just not that many games left. But Mike, my biggest concern is if they get in there and there's a mix of teams, just the brand, just the logo, because they haven't been in the tournament in a while. That shouldn't matter. In fact, I was talking to Fran Frischella recently about that yesterday. Name dropper, huh? How about that one? And Fran loves Johnny. He thinks that UCF's done an amazing job this year, but he said the same thing. He goes, "You hope it's not a factor. It should be a factor." But that was also before UCF won. He goes, "So don't lose today." Now, again, that doesn't guarantee anything, but there's just not that many games left that would really shake the bubble. And if you think UCF, for example, is a 10 seed today, do they have enough of a cushion that they would still get in? So I think I lean that way today. And yeah, you don't want to lose by 40, but I'm not quite sure. Let's say UCF loses by 24 today. I don't think that is I don't think it's a big killer. I think you kind of take into account what was at stake yesterday, and now you're playing a fresh Arizona team who, Mike, all 5 guys that are going to start today are going to play in the NBA for Arizona, if not this year, next year. All 5.
Mm-hmm.
They start 3 freshmen, and the other 2, are going to be first rounders either this year or next year.
Yeah, no, they're very good. If UCF plays the way they did yesterday, don't like their chances today. They're going to have to play much better to fight off Arizona. UCF 3 o'clock tip today. Mark will join us in our next segment as well. The explanation was given. I'll ask Mark if he's buying it next year on the Beat of Sports.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Ready for more sports talk? Of course you are. In for Mark Daniels, here's Mike Tuck.
11:45 here on 96.9 The Game. Mike Tuck, Chris Vasquez, Mark Daniels joining us live from Kansas City. The big news that broke, Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning was the Max Crosby deal to be traded from the Raiders to the Ravens was nixed. The Raiders say that the Ravens backed out of it. Yesterday, Eric DeCosta spoke to the media. Here was his explanation.
I understand it. I understand it. We live in that age of skepticism and people question, especially people that don't really know me or know the Ravens culture and the Ravens organization. So I understand it. As I said at the beginning, we've got a responsibility. I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea. Is this the best thing for the Ravens? It's very, very challenging. Again, I understand how people might maybe from afar would feel that way, but nobody's more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. And so a big regret for me.
The marriage is off.
You buying that, Mark?
I don't totally buy it. I still think there's a lot of unanswered questions, but I'm not quite sure we're going to get answers to those questions. I just think that something may have happened where the Ravens said, well, how do we pivot? And whether it's a dollars game or whether there was a little red flag medically, it just seems odd how quickly things developed there. And he maybe gave the best company answer.
Yes.
that kind of sounds like it's authoritative and still is kind of vague.
Mm-hmm.
Have the Raiders said anything, Mike? Because again, I've been crazy the last couple of days. Have the Raiders publicly said anything?
Other than the initial tweet, they have not spoken to the media in regards to this yet that I have seen.
They said that they're going to honor their deals, right? The guys that they were bringing in, and so forth. So I guess I'd be curious what the Raiders think. It just I don't know what else he's supposed to say, but it just seems like there's other parts to this, and Crosby hasn't said anything either that I'm aware of, and I wonder what his thoughts are.
He posted a tweet, basically, I'm a Raider, let's go, kind of. That's his, stance. KV thought he was trying to win over the public. I don't think he needed to. I don't think Max Crosby looks like a bad guy in any of this. I still think, Raiders fans would be happy to have him back. A new team acquiring him would be happy to have him. I don't think that any of this reflects on him poorly. What I think, and it's funny that CV played that the little cut about the marriage being over. It in thinking about it, it almost feels like the Ravens were trying to, so to speak, have their cake and eat it too. Like they were flirting with the two girls and liked both the girls, knew they can't have both the girls, but didn't necessarily think they could get the one girl without having to give something up. And then suddenly in the 23rd hour, found out, oh, wait, we can. Trey Hendrickson will be willing to come here. All right, we like that better, so we're going to go with that girl. And that's the way it feels like to me, is like they got, and they're using the physical as an excuse.
Right. And I admit, I don't know the exact medical guidelines of the NFL. Where does every team have a right to go, well, our medical standard is going to be different than yours? Like, okay, we'll take him because we think that the x-ray says this and you may think otherwise. I don't know. And that's where you just kind of wonder, well, the Ravens using one guy against the other, that happens all the time. And again, I don't know, Mike, from a distance, like we brought up yesterday, in this NFL news cycle, everybody wants to be first. Did everybody jump the gun here, from media to even the? I don't know. Now, Crosby could go back and play there. I don't know if the Raiders want that because God, the value that they thought they were getting by making that deal was good. He could go back and play. I don't think there's bad feelings there. I think that the Raiders weren't winning with him, and if you could get anywhere near what they thought they were getting from Baltimore, then you'll see what the market is. But I mean, if he had to go back, I guess he could. They'd have some work to do to capitalize,
Right.
I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you'd love having a guy like, as a fan, an organization, you like having a guy that represents your organization that way on the field and off the field. But realistically, where they are in their rebuild or continuous rebuild, it makes a lot more sense to have 2 first-round picks in his place than a 30-year-old defensive end who probably won't be able to see it through to the part where you actually start winning games if it were to come to fruition with Mendoza and the next group of guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of winning, Magic win their 5th straight last night on national TV, no less, against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That win means what to you at this stage of the season for the Magic?
I thought last night's win was massive in the sense of where this team currently sits, which all of a sudden now, I mean, that game last night was a potential first-round matchup.
Mhm.
And now the question is, who would get the 7th game? Look, the harsh critics of the Magic have a hard time right now because, again, full disclosure, I had the game on my phone, and it was just kind of a crazy evening last night here in Kansas City. Desmond Bane's been incredible for the Magic. And like last night's game, again, just what I'm watching, it's almost like, look at Paolo's role last night when Bane's having a night like he's having, and all the attention's on him. And then you look at Paolo's numbers, and you're like, oh, well, that was, it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought this up a couple of times, Mike. Realistically, if it's an injury-free season for the Magic, and I mean injury-free, like, guy misses a game here or there, but not out for long stretches, right? How many more wins would we project them to have than where they are right now? Is it 4?
I mean,
is it?
Yeah, I mean, for somewhere between at least 4 to upwards of 7 or 8.
Okay, so let's play the game and meet me at 5.
Okay.
Okay. Where would that put the Magic in the East right now?
Game behind I guess win-losses right where the Knicks are, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying so, gee, it's just, where are they right now? And they're playing arguably their best basketball without Wagner, without Black. And they're 2 guys that have to play really well, are playing well. And I thought that was a really big win last night. And now, and it is a crazy race because all of a sudden Miami sits behind them, and you thought, well, the Heat are always going to be in the play-in, and Philadelphia has struggled of late. But now you start looking, okay, maybe you're not going to catch the Knicks at 3, but you can catch Cleveland. How many games behind Cleveland today?
2 games. 3 games officially, but 2 in the loss column.
Right. So doable, and playing well. And I still say this, as good as Baines played and as good as Paolo's played, and I've been a defender of Paolo, it's still at times head scratching as to who off the bench is going to give you, and it kind of changes. I guess that's a good thing, but you want a little bit more consistency out of that bench. And I think it's the Magic gave that kind of, hey, Franz is doing this drill, and I've never seen a team that does more updates on here's the drills they're doing. Never mind when they're going to be back, right? He's doing non-contact. He's doing shooting drills. He's doing conditioning. It's just, no one tells you when they're coming back. It's always be careful about the drills that they're doing. But, I mean, let's assume Franz is going to come back. I hope that's the case. I know people didn't want to hear that at the trade deadline, and I'm not saying that they, were smart to not do anything, but you don't know what deals were there and passed up. But that's also tough for the Magic critic crowd when it was, hey, we just want to get healthy and then see what our team is. I know a lot of people didn't want that because it's fun to make trades, but at least right now they could make the argument, hey, we're playing really well, and if we get Wagner back, that would, I mean, they're playing good basketball. Since the All-Star break, the blown lead against Houston was a bad loss. The Detroit basketball game you're using as a measuring stick, I got it. It's fine. You can be critical, things like that. But it's a good win last night. You can't tell me Cleveland didn't care about the game last night.
No, I mean, and if you're the Magic, even if you can't get to the point where you have home court against Cleveland or Miami in that first round as the 4th seed, I mean, you would have to feel confident if they play somewhat at this level without changing seeds very much, that they'd have a shot to beat the Knicks or the Cavs. There's nothing to think that the Magic at full strength couldn't take either of those teams down. And when you look at Philadelphia without Maxey, and then Embiid's out, like Philadelphia's putting out a G League squad right now. Toronto was overachieving to this point of the season. Like it
No
was
one's
just
beating the Hornets, so no one's beating the Hornets.
the Hornets they're fun, man. If you're a Hornets fan, life's good just because of
the Hornets. Outside of my love for the Knicks and watching the Magic, I think Charlotte's the most exciting team to watch.
They're fun.
Look, if you play Cleveland, okay, and if you believe, and maybe the sample size not big enough for you, a little bit more of a half-court game. Paddle's numbers in the playoffs are better because it's more of a half-court game. And James Harden's, he's going to give a game away. That's a given. I mean, it happens every year.
That's true.
So I don't think you're worried about a potential matchup there. But there's a lot of basketball left, but I think they played well, and everybody can go stat searching to fit the narrative. And I think that it's hard if you're a critic right now. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
If an escalator stops, okay. Like
while you're
I'm
on
doing
it, or
this
you
right-
mean it's just not working?
No. Well, both. But,
Okay.
but I'm standing in the lobby right by a pair of escalators, one up, one down, right? And maybe I'm counting here. Maybe it's 40 steps. Okay. I've never seen more people on the one going up when it stops that act like there's a force shield that you can't treat it like steps. I just watched a family of like 6 where, and it started and stopped a few times, and it stopped, and they go, oh, okay, let's go see if there's another way to get up. Yeah, use your feet and treat it like steps.
Well, man, it says a lot about you if you're like halfway up an escalator, it stops, and you go back down to find another way to go up.
Right. But I'm just watching. It's like it's not a force shield. Just treat it like steps. It's okay. Just walk up.
Wow.
No big deal.
Yeah, like the people they see that it's down and they're like looking around. Is there another option here? Like,
yeah. By the way, are we now all back on the USA baseball bandwagon from the quarterfinals? It's another matchup with Canada, right? I mean, it's what we want.
Yeah, exactly. This is like hockey, and this is our sport now. Like I said yesterday, I'm not someone that gives out betting advice, but I said, man, if you want to buy low, buy the dip now. The Americans aren't the favorites anymore yesterday, and get a little help from the Italians, and now we're back to being the favorites again.
That's right. Bring on Canada. Where's the Hughes brothers? Let's get them back to play a little baseball here right now and work that magic. Wow.
I have to ask you before I let you go, because I was thinking about this last night as UCF won their game. I'm like, I wonder what Mark's doing the rest of the day. I mean, you got a couple more games there in the evening, and obviously Kansas City, and I don't know. What does Mark Daniels do when UCF wins a game with the rest of his day?
So the basketball junkie me would have stuck around to watch AJ DeBonsta. If I can name drop again, and I forgot if I mentioned this yesterday, took the elevator down with Danny Ainge and AJ DeBonsta when I went to the arena.
Look at you.
Yeah. And Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were at the game last time. Mahomes is going to be back to watch Texas Tech play here in just a little bit. But actually came back to the hotel, kind of just an adrenaline rush. A lot of UCF people here. Got invited to a nice dinner last night with several donors and so forth. You never pass up one of those meals at a high-end restaurant. You're like, oh, really? Oh, you want me to go? Okay. One of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back and did some prep for the game today. And like I said, I came downstairs here, and there's Iowa State red all over the place as they play the early game today. The pop-up merchandise area is busy as I speak here right now. And, did get a run in this morning. It's cold, but I did get a run in, and set for a good day of basketball. By the way, media food, Mike, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's about an 8. It's about an 8.
All right.
Solid breakfast, full cold cut and salad lunch, and from what I've heard, the dinner's fine. Good snacks, good quality snacks. You got your fruits. You want to get some mixed nuts. You want to do the pretzels. And they have a full coffee bar open from like 10 a.m. to midnight. Or special drinks and everything. If you want to get one of those fancy drinks, they'll make you one of those things as well.
I got to say, though, an 8, like for as fancy as that court is, like I kind of expect it to be a 10. I mean, if the court's going to glow and do all kinds of crazy stuff, I mean, are we investing too much in the court?
Media food, the media food's been fine.
Okay.
The court, listen, I'm old. I've accepted that the court is what it is. I think part of it is it's gray when there's not the graphics on there. People are used to a brighter court, and the
Sure.
green makes it appear a little
Well, it
bit
looks
darker.
as a UC. I mean, it looks like a UCF court, right? Frankly.
Yeah. And then though, but I'm telling you, the graphics and the stuff, like
Yeah.
the American flag waves during the anthem, when they do the team introductions, and then shooting free throws on one end of the court, the other end of the court's got the guy's free throw numbers and his shooting percentage and all that stuff. It is the wave of the future, as I understand. Most NBA teams the next few years are going to have it, and most college teams are going to. It's just you're selling everything today, so if you
Sure.
can sell anything, and I was talking to somebody connected to a league sponsor last night who just said that it is inevitable to the NBA. The league has done the data, and now it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when, because of what you can do with it. So it's here. That's the future.
Enjoy the game today against Arizona.
All right, Mikey. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
UCF, Arizona, 2:30 pregame, 3 o'clock, give or take tip. It is game 2 again, so it could be tipping just after. It's 11 o'clock, WYGM, WJRR, Orlando. Totally butchered that. I'm like looking, I'm twisted. He's saying do the update. Let me try that again. 11 o'clock, WYGM, Orlando, WJRR, HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, and AM 740. We are Orlando's sports leader.
Programming note real quick.
Yes,
I will
go
say
ahead.
pregame will be at 2:40 today.
2:40.
2:40 today.
We're just
Pregame.
accommodating for the later likely finish.
That's what we are doing.
That's smart. That's smart. I would think that they are going to go a little bit longer.
Yeah. So 2:40 pregame, and then Mark, being the consummate professional that he is, we'll make sure that we are timed out perfectly for tip off of UCF and Arizona, which game can be heard right here on FM 96.9 The Game.
Let's really do the news.
Yes.
Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
It is time for the news indeed. Mike Tuckin for Mark Daniels along with Chris Vasquez on this Thursday. College hoops. We just talked to Mark about UCF advancing yesterday in the Big 12 Conference Tournament. They will take on number 1 seed in the Big 12, Arizona. They will have their hands full today. Tip time set for just after 3 o'clock in that matchup. Florida State advanced yesterday. Nice win for the Noles to keep their hopes alive at an NCAA tournament bid. They're going to need a win today, though, if they're going to have a chance, but it would be a huge feather in their cap. They take on ACC top seed Duke. Duke will be shorthanded for the record. Their point guard, their starter, Caleb Foster, is out with a broken foot. He may not be able to make it back before the season ends, so that is an enormous loss for Duke. And Patrick Ngumba, their starting center, also will be held out with another foot injury, different than Foster's, for the length of the ACC tournament. So back-to-back AC tournaments for Duke. Last year, you may or may not remember, Cooper Flagg didn't play, and we were wondering about his availability beyond that. Louisville will take on Miami. Both teams are comfortably into the bracket, so that is a nice matchup. They just played in the regular season, so a rematch of sorts. That one's at 2:30. The Gators do not play today. They will not take the court until tomorrow as the top seed in the SEC. Other news today, the Orlando Magic winners last night. They won 128-122, holding off the Cleveland Cavaliers. A nice win for the Magic, pushes them back ahead of the Heat for the number 5 spot in the Eastern Conference. Both teams playing great basketball right now. The Magic winners of 5 straight. Also just 2 games back in the loss column of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So just a few weeks ago, we were talking about not having Franz and wondering if they could fall out altogether, or where they might be in the play-in, if they even have to be on the road in the play-in, if they were in the play-in. To now they are at least they're a game up on Toronto, who sits at 7. Philadelphia is fading quickly, unfortunately, because of a plethora of injuries. Tyrese Maxey got terrible news, and so he's going to miss multiple weeks. Embiid's been out. Paul George is still out. They are really, really hurting right now.
Can I ask you something going back to the Magic?
Philadelphia. Yeah, go ahead.
Because after the first, month, maybe even 2 months of the season, everyone wanted to write off Desmond Bane as, God, what are we doing giving up 5 first-round picks? Like, this isn't worth it. It's who was the guy last year? Why am I drawing a blank?
KCP?
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a KCP trade all over again. And now the way he's played down the stretch, is it still too early to say that the trade has been worth it for Desmond Bane, or are we kind of turning our thoughts around on the Desmond Bane trade?
I'll put it to you this way. I'd have to look up exactly what his 3-point percentage was 2 months ago. I think it was close to 30-31 off the top of my head. It sits, I just was looking at it, but as you were talking, it sits at 38.9 today. I think it's fair to say we feel pretty good about this one. Now, time will tell on all the first-round capital Memphis got. And the only way Memphis feels better about it is if they cash in one of those chips, the same way Oklahoma City did with their first-round picks, and obviously Shea turned into the superstar that he turned into. You have to wait, though, for that to play out. And it's a number of years you have to wait to see if that's going to work in your favor. But if you're the Magic, I mean,
but you're feeling good about Desmond Bane.
35 last night. Kelly brought up it's 12th time over 30 this year. He's delivered when he's had to, because they've been without Franz, and they've been without Paulo, and they've been without Jalen. They've had guys out of the lineup, and he's been a steady contributor for them this season. He's played in 64 games, so 10 more than Paulo and 28 more than Franz, 24 more than Jalen Suggs. So again, injuries on this team, and he's the guy who's played the most games, right? So where would they be without him?
Yeah.
That might be another way to look at it.
Yeah.
They might be down sitting fighting for 10 in the Eastern Conference and they not acquired Desmond Bane this year.
Yeah, so I would, again, time will tell as to what these first-round picks turn into for Memphis, but I think if you're a Magic fan right now, you got to be feeling pretty good about having Desmond Bane on your roster and seeing what it's like to have a three-point shooter who can knock down the threes. Again, started out slow, but he's starting to pick it up as of late, and it's kind of good timing coming down the stretch.
Yeah, if you're going to get hot, March is a good time to get hot going into April. And hopefully, Franz will be back and AB is going to be back. You're not as worried about that one. And they can get back to full health and ready to rock and roll for the postseason because if they're at full strength, they're going to be a team people are going to say, you don't want to really play them right now. Every team in front of them, is legitimately good. Every team in front of them feels like they should advance in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's the fun thing. That's the way it should look like when you're in that middle range is everyone, and we've been saying that about the West with the depth of the West. Everyone in Houston got demolished last night by Denver, but both of those teams feel like the Lakers beat Minnesota the other night. Both of those, and these are possible first-round matchups out West. And the Eastern Conference is starting to take form, right? It didn't maybe look like that or feel like that earlier in the season, but now Boston back with Tatum becomes the favorites in the East. Detroit's having a fantastic year. Cleveland, because of the Harden acquisition, the Knicks have been steady in that same kind of spot they were in a year ago. The Magic are coming on. The Heat are coming on. Toronto's been pretty good all year long. There's a number of teams that feel like, hey, we feel like we should be in the second round, if not in the conference finals this year.
Yeah, and you want to see the Magic take a step forward. You want to see them start to gain that playoff experience, get out of, hopefully avoid the play-in altogether. But if for whatever reason they slip back, advance through the play-in, advance out of the first round officially of the NBA playoffs, and hopefully just keep building.
A couple of NFL deals both happened later yesterday, so I'll bring them up now. And both involve our teams. Bradley Chubb, who was cut by the Dolphins, a cost-cutting move, gets a 3-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. I love it. I mean, good for him, and not that I want Buffalo to do well, but good for Buffalo. I think that's a really good fit in an area of need for them to upgrade their defensive line. And the Cowboys traded off a defensive tackle
Osa Adigizua.
Adigizua, very good. For a third-round pick to the 49ers. What are your thoughts, Cowboy fan?
It was a crowded defensive tackle spot. They're switching over to a 3-4 with Christian Parker. I mean, Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams. It was a crowded defensive tackle spot. They just signed someone from the Chargers on a 1-year deal. You can't have 3 guys making $20+ million at one position. So Osa was the one on a favorable contract to move. I really
Which is
like
why you
him.
get a third-round pick for him.
I really liked him. Wishful thinking. I was hoping it'd be at least a second, or maybe, there was more in it to where Fred Warner is coming back to Dallas. But
wow,
I said, like
that's
I said,
real hopeful thinking there.
Wishful thinking. But
wish casting.
It sucks to see him go, but
yeah,
now they have a day 2 pick or day 3 pick, which they didn't have before.
All right. Well, that is your news. This news we brought up very briefly the end of the show yesterday as it was floated out there. And I do think one of many, but one of the reasons the sport of football is so popular in America is this. And it feels like they're trying to do that instead of this. I'll tell you what that is coming up next here on the Beat of Sports.
Ready for more sports talk? Of course you are. In for Mark Daniels, here's Mike Talk.
Great day for the beat of sports on FM 96.9 The Game. Thank you guys for listening and watching us on the YouTube stream as well. 96.9 Game On. You can see CV and I in our separate sides of the studio. You can also check that out on Twitter and X. 96.9 Game On there. Fun times.
Love it.
What's up?
Love it.
Yeah. This story broke yesterday. We got to pay really no time to it because it was like literally in the last 30 minutes of the show when we were in the middle of a segment. But I was thinking about it on my way in this morning. So this wasn't even like a planned like segment or anything. But one of the things to me that makes football special in America, because there are a lot of choices, more choices than ever before, not just in sports, but in every walk of life. There are things to do to grab our attention. And some of those things very warranted you're going to spend time with. We can't be so myopic. That's the only one thing what we do. But one of the things that I think is one of the great appeals of the sport of football that has nothing to do with the actual game itself is the fact that it is a once a week rally cry. Is that on whether you are a college fan or a pro fan or both, it is Saturday, Sunday, it's the tailgating, it's the hanging out at your house, it's hanging out at the sports bar, hanging out with your buddies. Like it's that idea that, hey, God, what games, what time's the Magic game this week? What nights are they playing? Like, and it's not a knock on the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL or the MLS or any other sport, which plays a lot more games over a lot more days. But one of the great appeals, I think, for football is that it's, hey, this is it. This is our window. We look forward. We get a week of discussing it, getting irritated by what happened last week or excited by what happened last week, and then we flip the script the very next week with it. Like, it's part of what makes the sport's popularity go. And I'm not sitting here telling you they have anything to worry about as they are atop the mountain and king of the castle, because they are in the NFL. And they are in college football right below them. But when we have college football playing playoff games on Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays and Mondays, and like we're avoiding NFL days like as part of the equation. And now the news yesterday, if you missed it, the NFL exploring having a Wednesday night going into Thanksgiving where they have 3 games already. Used to be 2. Now we have 3. So can't have that Thursday night window for your family. We got to make sure we have a game there too. We want to do a Wednesday night game. And it just, again, far be it for me to tell them what to do, but it just feels like we're removing a lot of what is sort of special by Thursday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday. And now we're, Fridays with the Black Fridays. And then now we want a Wednesday night. And we're doing Wednesday night to start the season because we're playing in Australia, CV. And it does feel like we're losing some of the specialness. And I get it's one game a week, but multiple days now to take our time like this is the NBA.
There is such a thing as overexposure. Overexposure is bad. We love the NFL because it was on Sundays and Mondays. Then we adopted the Thursday game. Okay, one day kind of wet our whistle, getting us prepared for college football on Saturday and the NFL on Sunday.
Which, by the way, they bumped college football off that Thursday. I mean, they still do some games, but it used to be the thing.
But it was great. And I get it, with streaming services and social media and the way the world is today, you always want to try and be innovative in the way you think and how you draw attention to yourself. We're now playing college football games essentially every day of the week. It may not be, SEC, Big 12, Big 10 action, ACC,
No,
but
but
there's
it's
still college
action.
football. There's still college football every single day of the week. Now we're talking about bringing football on a Wednesday night. And I get it. Maybe there's a lot of people at home that night who are, they've just finished their shopping. They're meal prepping for tomorrow.
Right. Off for the week, maybe.
It does maybe make sense to have a game. But I feel like the Wednesday game is going to kind of take away from Thanksgiving, if that makes sense. Like, we look forward to the games on Thanksgiving. We know the Lions are going to play. We know the Cowboys are going to play. The night game typically fluctuates, but we know the Cowboys and Lions for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, we get excited. We have the Lions for the appetizer, the Cowboys for the main course. And then after...
Wow, that was self-serving.
But you're full. You're on the couch. You're letting the food digest. Maybe a nice bourbon drink, an espresso, whatever it is. And your night game for dessert. The Wednesday game just, I don't know. I feel like it's going to take away the luster of Thanksgiving games. And I think overexposure is becoming a real issue because we always, the NFL doesn't need to do anything and it's a 12-month sport. And yet they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing in the international games. And I think it's starting to become too much.
Yeah, I think there's a difference in growing the popularity of the sport and growing the revenue in the sport. Sometimes those things do overlap, but this feels like, hey, we're being strictly driven by revenue here because I don't see how that will help the game in any way. It's not going to help grow the game in any way. It's an opportunity to make money, to sell it to fill in the blank streaming service that wants to do that game the way they did Netflix with the Black Friday game. But there isn't like people clamoring for it.
No,
there isn't a necessary need for it. And then how does that affect, like, how are we doing that? How are we playing a game on a Wednesday? Because you're not playing Sunday to Wednesday. It's already, frankly, you just listen to the players. Like, they should have a voice in this, going from a Sunday to a Thursday.
Right.
You're not doing Sunday to Wednesday. I mean, are we trying to pull from like last Thursday? But we're already got 6 teams playing on Thursday.
So then are you pulling teams from the bye week?
Right. It's got to be a bye week or playing on the previous Thursday. But even then, maybe one of each because you can't do both. Not going to have a rematch. So, like, it just feels like, hey, why not? Like, we can make a few more bucks here, as opposed to, hey, this is good for everybody. This is better for the sport. And I do think you steal away again what I think feels great about football is, hey, we got all these games on Saturday. We got all these games on Sunday. And
you know what's going to suck is this isn't going to be a nationally televised game. It's going to be a streaming service game. So, again, if you don't have it, the consumer is getting screwed.
Which speaks to the idea of it's not growing the game.
I feel like I'm a broken record at this point where the consumer, no matter which way you slice it, in any sport, the consumer is getting screwed because everyone's moving to a streaming service. What happened to Fox and CBS, ESPN for a Monday night game? What happened? ABC. What happened to that? Does the NFL doesn't need more money? Like,
no, that's not the way billionaires think, Chris. That is not how they think.
Because another $2, $3, $4, $5 billion in your pocket is going to be life or death for you.
Mm-hmm.
While we struggle having to pay thousands of dollars for every freaking streaming service.
We're thinking about it as far as viewership, but again,
no, we're all going to watch it.
But it's a simple idea. Like, it's a simple concept. If you actually want to go to games, take in the product, fill the stands, make it feel like the big event that it is on a week-to-week basis, right? Well, now you got to go on a Wednesday night before the holiday. What if you were going to go out of town? What if you were, I mean, like, you just, again, are making it harder on fans when you start dropping them on weeknights as opposed to the weekend. That's it. I had that thought on the way in this morning, and it does feel like that is one of the fun things about football. That's a draw as, hey, just once a week on the weekend, we got to have your time. And the rest of the week, you're free to do what you want to do. And we're definitely getting away from that. Last night, a bit of a surprise, but it's a pleasant one. If you're red, white, and blue, we'll discuss it next.
Just because Mark Daniels isn't here doesn't mean there's no beat of sports. Filling in for Mark, here's Mike Tuck.
Getting close to the end here, but a great show nonetheless here on the Beat of Sports. Mike Tuck with Chris Vasquez. Mark's in Kansas City. UCF taking on Arizona today a little bit after 3 o'clock, a 2:40 pregame.
Nice.
For that one. If you would have told me that there was a blowout yesterday in the World Baseball Classic, I would have thought it would have been Mexico pancaking Italy. Instead, it was Asta la Pasta as the Italians, holy cow, Pasquatch. I love that nickname, by the way, for those that aren't Royals fans. Vinny Pasquantino pulled his average up to 188 in the World Baseball Classic by hitting not one, not two, but 3 home runs yesterday.
First time ever.
Good time to have it, man. And a 9-1 trampling of Mexico by Italy. Talk about a double stamp on going 8-0 up on the United States and then crushing Mexico 9-1. I realized the Americans did rally for 6, which helped obviously in their cause to advance. But thank you, Italy. Italy still the longest shot remaining of the 8 teams that are left now in the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic. But it does mean that the Americans advance. They'll take on Canada tomorrow night in Houston. Semifinals are down in Miami and championship in Miami. United States, a very heavy favorite, very much the way they were against Italy, to knock off Canada. And the favorites to win the whole thing again. They are a slight favorite ahead of the Dominicans, and DR in the United States would play in the semifinals. Sets up for a great semifinal. Japan is the reigning champ from a couple years ago. They're on the other side of the bracket with Italy. Very interesting. Very interesting. But it gives us something to talk about, right? Like spring's great. I mean, obviously Florida and Arizona, many of you follow. It's 10 games in this state for spring training, but this is just giving us something else to discuss. And you know, you said it earlier. I think it was you or KV. I can't remember which one of you said it now. My apologies.
One of the V's.
But about the passion that's involved in it. Like it stands out. Like the guys care whether or not, you know, Aaron Nola's pitching yesterday. Other than eating at Carrabba's, I don't know what association he has with Italy, but he is. He's pitching for them. He goes 5 shutout innings yesterday. Probably the best pitching performance of anyone thus far in the World Baseball Classic. And, you know, good for them. They're excited. They're happy to play for a country they're loosely related to. Somebody on their family tree apparently, invest in Olive Garden or something. And so that's where they're at.
Hey, you can't go wrong with never-ending breadsticks.
I'm saying, man, the breadsticks are pretty good. They are pretty good. But it'll be Logan Webb. They haven't announced it, but it should be Logan Webb for Team USA. And then that would set up Paul Skeens in the semis, should they advance. And you would think they would advance on Sunday against the Dominicans.
Can't take anything for granted. I think the game against Italy showed you that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Canada's not, barren of talent. They did win their bracket. The Americans are the runner-up, so they're getting the winner of their bracket. In Canada, they crushed Cuba yesterday to advance. They won their bracket going 3-1. And the Canadians have they got some major leaguers. Matt Davidson's been a major leaguer. Eduardo Lulian is a major leaguer with the Twins. Otto Lopez, the Marlins, Josh Naylor, Tyler O'Neill, Toro. Yeah, I mean, most of their lineup is Bo Naylor, filled with major leaguers. So they got some guys. Cal Quantrill pitched for them yesterday. I do not know who they're going to throw. That's the one thing I do not know. Again, officially, the United States hasn't announced it. I'm just telling you who it's, barring a collapse, is going to be, because Logan Webb's the guy that lines up.
Again, I talked about it yesterday. I know, different sport, but you would like to see the patriotism and the momentum transfer from the men's and women's hockey team from the Olympics, and hopefully, give the Americans in the World Baseball Classic some of that juice. I thought you were going to say juice into the remainder of the NHL season. How many NHL games have you watched since we captured the golds? No, that'd be 0.
We say these things, and then, if you're a hockey fan, you're watching the NHL on a nightly basis. If you're not, I don't know how much winning the gold medal did for you.
No, and
I think that's the majority, though. I really do. I think that's the majority.
Mark and I had talked about that before.
Yeah.
Where, it was great. We loved watching the Americans. We saw the big names represent the country, but the minute that season's over, you maybe want to follow Jack Hughes, but how many people knew what team to look for to play that Jack Hughes was on? And then when you do watch him play, it's like, okay, I don't know that guy. I don't know that guy.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to carry
after
over.
Every Olympics ends, it's like, oh wow, here's a swimming meet that got on ESPNU. Maybe I should. And then you realize track and field meets, and then you realize you don't care anymore.
Yeah,
like every Olympics, it's the same thing.
There'll be a short spike, but I'm just talking about you want to see the momentum of the patriotism from the winning the gold. For the
I hear you. I don't think that's a thing either, though.
It's probably not, but you still want to see.
Just like we're not going to draw the ire of Canada if we knock them off in baseball. They're not going to hold a grudge for, and I don't think we will either. For the record, if Canada pulls the upset, I don't think we're going to walk around grumpy pants like that. That Canada beat us in baseball. They shouldn't. Like we should be a little upset if they knock us off in baseball, but yeah,
you want to see your country win.
Of course,
that's all it comes down to. You want to see the Americans win.
We are spoiled rotten brats because we are great in just about everything.
Yes.
Even in soccer, where we're not great on the men's side yet, we still expect to win, at least on some level.
Right.
Like there are some standards, even if it's not winning a World Cup yet. And I think there's still many of us that are holding out hope in our lifetimes that will become a possibility, if not a standard, is that we can actually win the whole thing.
Absolutely.
That would be the dream at one point in the future. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up with notes and quotes next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends. Ooh.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Beat of Sports wrapping things up on a Thursday. I'll be back in this seat tomorrow. Some note-keeping things for you. If UCF were to lose to Arizona today, don't know if Mark will be back here tomorrow or not. It kind of depends on what the flight plans could be. It could be just me and CV tomorrow. It could be all three of us here tomorrow, but that's the plan on paper right now. KV has the day off tomorrow, so there will be no bridge. So if you're tuning in before, 9 o'clock, there will be no bridge tomorrow morning. So adjust accordingly. And then no Bianchi and Kravitz this afternoon either, because UCF basketball takes the air at 2:40 with the pregame leading up to tip against Arizona at sometime after 3.
With KV taking the day off, the Beat of Sports will start at 9 o'clock as opposed to 9:30-ish.
Yes.
So Beat of Sports with either Tuck and myself or Mark Daniels, Tuck and myself will start tomorrow right at the top of the 9 o'clock hour.
I brought up the WAB or WAB, depending on how you want to pronounce it, earlier, and Mark did as well in regards to UCF. 184, 185, depending on how you want to round that thing off. Just to give you an idea where they sit with the win after against Cincinnati yesterday is they're ahead of, like, these are all the bubble teams. Like, they're ahead of them. They're ahead of Missouri, who's at 157. They're ahead of St. Louis, 155. Ahead of VCU. Ahead of NC State, who I would have thought would have been comfortably in. Ahead of Texas. Ahead of Auburn. Ahead of SMU. Ahead of Indiana. These are all teams that lost yesterday in their conference tournaments. Ahead of Oklahoma State. Ahead of Cal. So many of those teams lost yesterday and are already out. So I personally feel UCF's about a 9.5 chance out of 10 that they're already in. You don't want to go out and get shelled by Arizona, but I feel like they're pretty much locked into the tournament field at this point, and a loss to Arizona is no shame, with Arizona being as good as they are. Florida State takes the court today as well. They need a win, and then that would be a big boost to their resume. I still don't know if that gets them in. They play top seed Duke in the ACC at 7. The Canes are already in. They'll take on Louisville in a nice 4-5 matchup in the ACC at 2:30 this afternoon as we continue to punch tickets to the big dance. By the way, Miami, Ohio, undefeated Miami, Ohio, is leading at halftime against UMass 39-37, so a little closer than you'd like it to be. But even where their WAB is, it's pretty high up. They have to be in.
I was going to say they'd have to be a shoo-in, right? 31-0.
We'll talk about it tomorrow, I suppose, if they lose. But, yeah, that would be a discussion point for sure. CV, appreciate it today.
Always.
Don't go anywhere. You got the Herd into UCF basketball. Enjoy your afternoon. We'll talk to you tomorrow.